All right, welcome to Breaking Ground. I'm Steve Kliegerman. I'm honored today to have with us Jonathan Puleio, VP of Global Consulting for Humanscale, and our Chief Marketing Officer, Hunter Frick. And we're here today to talk all things ergonomics. And with the advent of the home office, particularly coming out of COVID, we're all spending a lot more time at home. We're all spending a lot more time sitting or standing at our desks, and that creates a whole host of new challenges for people as they work from home. So Hunter was good enough to bring a partnership with us that we'll talk about in a few minutes with Humanscale, and we're honored to have Jonathan here today to talk to us about all the new products that you and your team have that will help people function better and I hope feel better while they're working from home. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, how'd you get involved in this? As we were just talking about schooling and all the likes.
Well, I actually fell into the discipline of ergonomics. Went to Cornell University thinking I was going to study acoustical engineering, and wound up graduating with a degree in human factors and ergonomics. And I just sort of organically, pursued ergonomics, learned more about the discipline. And what I realized is by just being able to apply a finite set of guidelines and principles, you could make a significant contribution to really any design process or project. And so it was just a very natural thing for me. Growing up, I'd always looked at pieces of equipment and products, and I'd criticize them, not really knowing what I was doing or what I was saying. Learning about ergonomics sort of framed everything and made sense of everything for me.
So how have things evolved since you graduated college with this great degree? And I'm sure things were a lot different today than they are today.
Sure. Well, back in the early 2000s, we were still spelling the word ergonomics. In fact, we would get corrected quite a bit. Our clients would say, "Well, do you mean economics?" And no, it's the version with an R in it. So, things have evolved. I think the average corporation has become much, much more savvy and sophisticated as it relates to preventing workplace injuries, as it relates to promoting comfort and wellness within their organizations. So from that perspective, it's gotten much easier, but the challenges are just as real as they've ever been.
What kind of challenges are you facing right now?
Well, it's just as time goes on, we're spending more time interfacing with technology. Certainly not less time, right? And the curve is pretty steep. You could have someone spend 8 to 10 hours a day using a traditional computer, and then they go home and they use the computer for even longer, an additional dose, and then factor in phone usage, tablet usage, and so forth, and you really have a really significant dose of risk throughout the course of the week. And the nature of these injuries are such that they're cumulative, right? So the body is pretty resilient. You can get away with a pretty awkward posture for quite a long time, or at least in the short term. When those awkward postures are compounded over 5 days a week, 10 years, 20 years, that's when we start to see the breakdown of the body, and injuries, very debilitating injuries can result.
Right. So I remember years ago, I came home one day from work. I was living in an apartment next door to my dad, and my dad had a new chair, and it was a kneeling chair, right? So it had the pad. You put your knees on it. You kneeled against the front of the chair, and you kind of leaned into it. But things have evolved a lot. So tell us a little bit more about the evolution of ergonomically designed office furniture, and where are you at now? So where were we? Where did we get to, and where are we now?
Sure. So that's actually a great example of the kneeling chair. That chair was based on research that NASA did in zero gravity environments.
Because we all live in zero gravity environments.
You beat me to the punch there. As it turns out, it's not particularly natural to take the entire weight of your body and place it on the knees. but these products were marketed so incredibly well that even today there's still a following. And ironically, there's still even a following within some of the medical circles for these types of products. There's no governing body overseeing the usage of the word ergonomic, and therefore it has been used since the beginning of time as a marketing strategy. So I remember this goes back quite a while. Taco Bell had a campaign, and they were marketing the ergonomically designed taco because it was triangular in shape and thus easier to hold, and that was their claim. There was another I forget the actual brand, but there was a clothing manufacturer that was making jeans, and they said their jeans were ergonomically designed simply because they fit better than other jeans. So that's sort of where we were, where it was a little bit of a Wild West scenario where any manufacturer could make any claims about their products. We have seen a really significant shift in the 80s and the early 90s. As an example, chair manufacturers were in a race to design the world's most adjustable chair.
Right.
And the idea behind that was, well, of course, additional adjustability must be a better design, right? Because we all differ in size and shape. Well, there's not a single study that suggests that 7 or 9 or 12 knobs, levers, and adjustments yields any type of health benefit. One, because the system is so inherently complex that the likelihood that anyone takes the time to make the adjustments, let alone understands how to make the adjustments, hovers around 0%. And there's research on this. One study found, it was a laboratory study, found that less than 2% of those surveyed could even identify the purpose of the tension control knob. So on the surface, is adjustability important? Absolutely. But the evolution here from a design standpoint is we've figured out ways to design the products so that they self-adjust to the body, essentially eliminating the need for manual input and knowledge, ergonomics knowledge, to benefit from the system. It turns out that's a path of much lesser resistance because it just works as it should automatically.
So what features of the chair, let's say, self-adjust?
So great question. The easiest one to talk about is the recline mechanism. So on a traditional chair, in order to benefit from the recline mechanism, by the way, the reason why this is so important is because movement is critical for maintaining long-term comfort and health. It's not so much that sitting is unhealthy, sitting still is unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's a little bit of a distinction there. So with respect to the recline mechanism, the older systems had manual controls, right? So the first thing you had to figure out how to unlock the chair. And typically that was a lever. Sometimes you pulled it out, sometimes you pushed it down, sometimes you pushed a button. There was no real
standard.
No standardized control on that. And then once you unlock the chair, you would be left with one of two scenarios. You would fly all the way back because there was no tension, or nothing would happen because there was too much tension. Mm-hmm. So you had to know that there was a second step, right? You see why no one's benefiting from these controls? Then you had to find the tension control knob. And that could be in the middle of the chair. It could be on the side. It could be a knob. It could be a lever. I mean, there's a lot of ways that it was controlled. And then you'd have to figure out exactly how much tension you needed to support your body throughout the range of recline. So the likelihood and in practice, the reality of this adjustment benefiting anyone was, of course, very, very low. So what we did at Humanscale, we partnered with a world-renowned industrial designer, Niels Different, who was obsessed with ergonomics and designing for human use. And he actually figured out a way to design a recline mechanism that was based on the user's body weight. So as the user increases in body weight, the backrest tension increases as a proportion to the user's body weight. this sounds like a very simple system, right? But in the end, it eliminates the need for a tension control knob, a lock. Multiple controls can be eliminated from the chair. And the biggest benefit is that people will actually, users of that chair will benefit from the chair without having to have training, without having, take an hour-long course on ergonomics. All they have to do is sit.
Yeah.
It also takes away you sat in my chair and you just screwed up all of my adjustments, right?
That's right.
which happens to us all the time, right? Especially in our work environments today, where sometimes we might be sharing a desk with somebody, or someone just comes and sits at your desk, and all of a sudden your armrests are too low, or your back adjustment is all out of whack.
Sure, and particularly in a hoteling space or a shared space, the usability of the products that are in that space is even more critical than in an assigned space, because you could have multiple workers sharing the same space even on the same day. So that's something that we've been really obsessed with is making sure that the products are incredibly usable, self-adjusting. Simple is not simple from a design standpoint, right? I often talk about this, see if this resonates with you. Good design is invisible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's poor design that smacks us in the face, right?
No, absolutely.
And so oftentimes our innovations, we spend a lot of time explaining ourselves because a lot of times the innovations are invisible to the users. But I've always just thought that was interesting. You're much more in tune to poor design than you are to. I think people have an appreciation for good design if they have an appreciation for design.
Well said. And with that, we'll be right back, and then we're going to talk about designing for the home office.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Hi, I'm Evan Greenberg with Linden Title. I specialize in title insurance across New York, helping real estate attorneys, agents, and brokers close with confidence. I solve problems fast and keep your deals moving. Contact me anytime.
All right, and we're back. So, Hunter, you've been patiently waiting, and I appreciate that. So, when we design a building and we work with a building and partners, you often bring in really interesting design partners, architectural partners, amenity partners to help distinguish that building from another. How did you come across the Humanscale opportunity, and tell us a little bit about what we're going to be doing with our next project, and I'll let you talk about that.
Sure. The idea really came in the depths of COVID. I was the end user who was groveling over neck pain and poor chair use and just overall poor working environment from home. And we were in the depths of planning for Linden Lane, which is a condominium project we've been working on for a few years now with Jonathan. And we were laboring over kitchens and bathrooms and fit and finish of tiles and wood cabinets. But as I was sitting there, I realized that at the end of the day, this work from home concept was not going away, and we needed to kind of reallocate not only square footage, but time and design effort towards those spaces. So thankfully, we were at the very beginning, and we had a very trusting and cooperative client who got fully behind us on this concept, and the concept being that the majority of the residences come with very thoughtfully planned home office spaces. So we work with Jonathan on his team on, ergonomically designing these spaces, ideally using their products at the end. So each buyer will have a personal consultation with someone from his team to come in and really optimize the space for how, when, where they work, and then help them pick out chairs that work for them, desk for the space. They do come predefined with suggested programming in terms of desk location, and we went through with Jonathan and his team to optimize for, not only light and air, but number of plugs that someone might need. And, these spaces really have been thought through, whereas I think a home office in New York City pre-COVID was a closet in some cases, a dark room, any space that you could really put something in and label it a desk. But it really starts with the design, and then it goes through the full experience with the consumer being able to meet with, having a personal consultation with this team.
And Jonathan, you have a number of team members on your team, I believe physical therapists, obviously experts in ergonomics. Talk to us about that and how the consumer benefits from that.
Yeah, so it's a multidisciplinary team. Backgrounds in ergonomics, physical therapy, occupational therapy. And really our aim is simply to fit the environment to the user. And that's what ergonomics is about. It's fitting the task to the user. Just to think about this for a minute. We range in height from less than 5 feet tall to well over 6.5 feet tall. And yet the standard desk height in an office is 29.5 inches. As it turns out, that desk height correlates to the seated elbow height of a 95th percentile male. So if you ever wondered when you walk around an office, you see people sitting in the highest position of their chair and they're using the base of the chair as a footrest, this is why. Fundamentally, we've chosen a desk height that doesn't make a lot of sense based on the population. So to Hunter's point, this is an opportunity for folks that are moving into a new residence to customize their workspace specifically for the range of users that might be utilizing that space. You could have a family. You could, your user group might range from 3 years old to the grandparents might be using that space. So and everything in between. So we look at a few important items. The monitor position, the hand position, of course, the reach distances, and trying to optimize the space so that the user can be productive and not at risk for developing an injury. And so that's the gist of how we would interact at that stage.
Got it. So what products do you work with and offer for the consumer? You just kind of mentioned a few, but I want to make sure that we get the full breadth of what you can do for people, because this is really important. I mean, I know I sit at my desk a lot, although I'm mobile a lot too, but I feel those aches and pains, and so I get it.
Well, we often say there's nothing ergonomically designed about a desk, right? It's what's attached to the desk, and it's how the desk articulates that gives it value from a health and wellness standpoint. So Humanscale has a full line of height adjustable tables. Those tables can be outfitted with articulating keyboard supports, right, to further fine-tune hand and wrist position. We're the leader in flat panel monitor arms, and there's probably over, I'm not exaggerating, it's probably over 1 million configurations between the number of monitors and the types of links. And we also have integrated docking stations to clean up the desk so that all of the wires are gone and everything is streamlined.
I love that because I hate wires.
Well, think about moving into a multi-million-dollar, whether it's an office or a residence, having this incredibly high-quality space where every single detail has been thought of. The fit, the finishes, the materials, And then the moment people move in, the original design vision is completely destroyed, aesthetically,
Right.
and functionally.
Mm-hmm.
We often say, the architects and designers will often go into a space to take the beauty shots very intentionally before anyone's moved in.
Sure.
Because they know once people move in, people will redesign the space. And they're redesigning the space more often than not for comfort, right? And so we're trying to get it right from the beginning so that the ultimate end user never has to redesign the space.
Makes a lot of sense. Hunter, you have impeccable taste and design acumen. How do you see conveying this message to our potential consumers at Linden Lane, but hopefully for many other projects to come after this? And there's another conversation about obviously talking about our office environment and our work environment as well.
Yeah. So the customers will be able to shop some of their pieces in the model residence. So we're working on a triplex that will have two home office spaces, one in the lower level and then one in a secondary bedroom. So we'll have a little bit of a shoppable showroom. In addition, we'll be hosting some buyer and broker seminars throughout the sales process so people can start to educate themselves on really what the partnership looks like. And then lastly, the one thing we haven't mentioned is that we're working with Humanscale on outfitting the communal workspaces. So this building not only has dedicated home office spaces in each residence, but also there's a common conference room. And then what was originally a Zoom room, Jonathan and his team are working with something that's maybe a little bit more informal and casual, with some soft seating to kind of have an alternative to the more formal conference room table. So it's really a fully integrated partnership where you'll be able to come and see and touch and feel the product and have that informed voice on, what you might need as a user.
So
Yeah.
that makes so much sense too, because think about amenity spaces or co-working spaces, right? Now, when someone comes into that co-working space, they're not fighting with adjusting the chair. They're not having to deal with all that. Yeah, but they may adjust the height of the desk, but their seating is basically their body will dictate what the seating needs, right?
Right.
And go ahead.
Well, and you'd hope that the learnings this is a very unique project, right? Because the folks that are buying into this space are going to have a dose of ergonomic knowledge and awareness for their own homes. So you would think that it would transfer, right? That knowledge would transfer, and the expectations would be similar and also kept in those co-working spaces. So raising awareness is a very important part of this, and it's also mindfulness, right? You have to have some sense of awareness. As intuitive as the products are, you still have to be aware of, are you taking frequent rest breaks? Are you getting up? A lot of people that buy sit-stand workstations, they'll try to stand for the entire day.
Yeah.
They are not designed to be used that way.
Right.
About 15 minutes an hour is the recommended dose of standing. And how would you know that unless you researched it or someone explained it to you?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I see a lot of people standing at their desk all day and never sitting down at all, which also can't be good for your knees either, or your back, right, probably.
Prolonged standing is just as unhealthy as prolonged sitting.
Mm-hmm. Do you work also again? I don't know. So, like on mats to stand on versus hard floors. I mean, how deep do you get into your products? Do you ever mix your products with other products, or
Sure.
are they only Humanscale products?
Sure. No. If we see a need outside what our product line covers, our experts are certainly in tune to what else is out there. The interesting thing with an anti-fatigue mat, if you're in an environment, let's say you're a bank teller, right, and you have no opportunity to sit throughout the course of the day, if there are no other options, perhaps redesigning the floor to make it softer would be feasible. Mm-hmm. But in an office environment, if you start developing foot pain and leg pain, rather than redesigning the floor, we'd recommend sitting down.
Makes sense.
So it's more of a practical approach. Listen to to your body,
Right.
your body is typically a good. Your body's typically very good at signaling when there's a problem.
Right. Yeah, it very much is, without a doubt. I know that from having lots of aches and pains from playing sports. Hunter, what do you envision the day in the life of living and working from Linden Lane being like for our purchasers?
Let's see. It's a great question. I think being so close to Columbus Circle, you're probably going to wake up, have your coffee in your apartment, maybe go for a walk or run in Central Park, come back and have an amazing shower in all of the newly outfitted bathrooms, start your day in your home office space that, has been set up for you. And then, I think that people like to change their work environment. So, taking a few Zoom calls and then taking your laptop down to the courtyard or the common workspace in the lower level, depending on the season probably. Finishing your workday in your apartment, cooking dinner, and then maybe going to the rooftop upstairs. So, it is a little bit of an oasis. I know that's kind of a trite word in real estate and overused, but I think that we have created this little utopia in the middle of Midtown.
Yeah, well, creating a place where you can live, work, enjoy the outdoors is really important,
Yeah.
And with people working more from home, I think people get very used to they wake up in the morning, hopefully they brush their teeth and take a shower, then they sit down at their desk and all of a sudden, it's 6 o'clock and you've never moved, right? And you get up and your back is stiff and your knees are stiff and everything hurts. So, Jonathan, how do you also help people almost consult balancing that work day?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a serious behavioral side to staying well, right? And that kind of ties into the mindfulness. I remember, during the pandemic, I was wearing an Apple Watch at the time. I'd get to the end of the day, I'd look at my watch, and I burned all of 10 calories.
I remember those days.
And that is not natural. That is not healthy. There's nothing good about that scenario. So there are a million ways to integrate movement into your day. Even just so moving from seated to standing, as an example, once or twice an hour is a great way to build movement in and reduce the fatigue associated with repetitive work. Building in a walk into your day. If we all could figure out a way just to increase our step count, right? We've all heard this. It's been highly popularized, but there's great science behind it. Very, very important to use the body the way that it was designed, and then also just pay attention to how you're feeling. If most times what the ailments that people are experiencing when they're working from home has to do with static muscle contractions associated with the lack of movement, right? So the same reason you're very uncomfortable on a plane is the same reason you're uncomfortable in a home office.
Yeah.
So rather than working through that and just accepting the pain and discomfort as, well, of course I'm uncomfortable, I worked all day, be proactive and just figure out ways to build different types of movement into your day.
Yeah, I will admit during COVID, I took many conference calls on a hike, just making sure I was moving around. I'm curious, and again, we haven't discussed this, but what's next for Humanscale? Has Humanscale looked into designing airplane seats, car seats, other types, other methods of sitting that will help enhance people's lives? Because I know when I travel, you get off that flight after 5 or 6 hours and you can barely move.
Yeah, well, we're always exploring new environments. For a long time, we had a healthcare division, and we were designing point of care technology for the nurses and doctors that were using technology in hospital settings. We're in the process of actually developing a laboratory chair. A lot of forward-leaning in laboratory environments between pipetting and fume hoods and things of that sort. So yeah, we're always looking at different environments. Many of the products that we've innovated for the office environment are perfectly acceptable in manufacturing and industrial environments as well. So there's some carryover there. I think one of the most the greatest changes since the pandemic has simply been using materials that are more friendly in residential environments, right? You want the equipment to be very functional for the home, but you also want it to look like home.
Sure.
And so there's been an enormous amount of energy, time, and resources that have gone into alternative textiles, finishes, to make the products look less commercial, more residential.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hunter, other than the amazing benefits of the consultation and having the experience of being actually able to sit and experience the Humanscale products in our project, are there any economic benefits to our buyers? Any discounts? Anything that they can only get there that they're not getting at other projects right now?
Well, Jonathan kind of hinted to it, but they have a new residential line, which mainly applies to the fabrics and textiles that the buyers can choose from. So I think the buyers will be early on to that, and it really will complement. And you'll be able to see in the built environment how nicely the colors and textures will feel in residential settings. So I'm going to get first dibs on that, and then we haven't quite talked about discounts for buyers, but
not to put anybody on the spot, but
I'll assume so. They'll have some type of discount.
That'd be great.
At the end of their consultation.
That'd be great. What did I miss? You helped prep for this meeting and this interview. So did I miss anything? Anything we should wrap up with before we stop?
I don't know. It's just been amazing working with the Humanscale team. I feel like I knew nothing going into it except that my neck and shoulders hurt all the time, and came out with it with so much knowledge. I think that you learn, even this week you mentioned to me that ergonomics is never reactive, right? You have to start planning from the beginning and make sure that it's something that's consciously integrated into planning any home office space or any dedicated office space. So it is something that is very important for everyone's well-being, that we obviously brought this to light for a reason. So
yeah. Well, I think I'm going to be in the market for a new chair really quickly. So I look forward to that, and probably a new desk as well, because as I said, I sit at my home office on weekends working, and I know what it feels like when I get up from there. Even with what was once marketed as the state-of-the-art chair, as you said, there are so many different adjustments on that chair. I don't even know if they're helping me or not. So this has been really terrific, Jonathan. Thank you so much for your time. Hunter, thank you for making this introduction and bringing this opportunity to Linden Lane, which will be launching in September. We look forward to hosting everyone, having everyone come and check out the chairs and the desk, and actually sitting in it and seeing the difference of what a real, well-designed, ergonomically designed home office is. Thank you very much, and until next time, have a great day.